Okay, we are all set, Ernie.
Okay, thank you and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the May 4th, 2022 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open this evening with a roll call. Ms. Hofstetter?
Here.
Mr. Chiocchio?
Here.
Mr. Sylvain?
Here.
Mr. Renz is absent, Mr. Haas is absent, and Chairman Finaldi is here. We therefore have a quorum and we do not need to seat any alternates this evening. Commission members, please note our next regularly scheduled meeting will be May 18th, 2022. At that meeting, we will be discussing, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, the affordable housing plan.
Oh, geez.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Also, commission members, previously distributed were the minutes of the April 20th, 2022 meeting. Unless there's any corrections or discussion, I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
I think we had a motion.
Ellen made the motion.
Okay, and seconded by Mr. Chiocchio. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of the April 20th, 2022 meeting are accepted. Before we get to the first public hearing this evening, I'll read my usual Zoom introduction. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per our standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on the agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches sometimes do occur. Please be patient if that happens. Okay. Just a couple of things before we get into the first public hearing. For various reasons, we will not be hearing any testimony this evening on the traffic issue that applies to this particular public hearing. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that. I believe that presentation will be made it will be the May 18th meeting, June, Jennifer, or the one after that?
The June 1st meeting.
The June 1st meeting. So please note that for various reasons, we will not be hearing any testimony on the traffic portion of this application. That will be happening, as Jennifer mentioned, in June. And also, we're also waiting for engineering on this particular application. So we will not be closing it this evening. This particular application will be continued. I wanted to make sure we were clear on that. And with that said, I will read the legal notice, and then we'll go right into the public hearing. Excuse me, legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider the following matter. Pioneer Realty LLC, application for special exception, site plan approval for 1, use generating over 500 vehicle trips per day, and 2, sale or rental of automobiles and trucks in accordance with section 6A5G of the zoning regulations, Curry Automotive, in the IL40 zone, 1 and 15 Myra Brook Road, G18007 and G18016, special exception number 8785 rather. A copy of this application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office for public inspection. Parties in interest and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. agenda to be posted will include instructions on how to access the Zoom meeting, and application materials, and view the meeting in real time on YouTube, and if necessary, will note a change in the location of the meeting to council chambers in Danbury City Hall, located at 155 Deer Hill Avenue, Danbury, Connecticut. Arnold E. Finaldi Jr. Chairman, posted on city website and town clerk's office on April 20th, 2022, published in the News Times on April 22nd, 2022, and April 29th, 2022, purchase order number 2022-174. With that said, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is that, I see, who's going to go first? I see Mr. Visconti waving his hand, but I can't hear him. And I believe, does the applicant have a representative? Who's going to go first?
How about
Megan?
now?
I can hear Freddie now, but who's going to go first?
I'll
Megan?
defer to you, Chair, but I'm attorney Megan Miles here on behalf of the applicant.
Please, go right ahead, proceed.
Okay, thank you. So for the record, my name is Megan Miles. I am a land use attorney with the law firm of Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy. And tonight I am logging in from our office at 195 Church Street in New Haven. As I said, we represent the applicant. That is Pioneer Realty LLC. The Pioneer Realty is the owner of the property as well. The subject property is known as 1 and 15 Myra Brook Road. It is a corner lot at the corner of Myra Brook Road and Sugar Hollow Road. And my understanding is that this site has a fairly colorful zoning history with the city. It's commonly known as the Sayers property. So acknowledging that from the beginning. Pioneer Realty very recently purchased the site. They purchased it in 2021. And we're here tonight requesting special exception and site plan approvals in connection with redeveloping the property as a Mercedes-Benz sales and service center. I will be presenting tonight, but my full team is on the line if the commission has any questions. That includes my colleague, Mike Sweeney at Carmody. On behalf of Curry Automotive is Bob Carinci. He is the COO. We also have our engineer, Emily Jones of Civil One, and Mike Kozlowski of Claris Construction, who's our architect on this. Also, I will note that our team also includes Mike Galante of Hardesty and Hanover. As was already introduced tonight, we will not be discussing traffic matters. We filed a traffic report and the traffic department had additional comments, which necessitated revising the report, which takes time, so that's being wrapped up. I will say though that the report, and it's been reported back to me that even with the changes requested by the traffic department, that this project that will maintain acceptable levels of service at all, with minimal increase in vehicle delay at all peak hours, and that no offsite road improvements are necessary. So those are the findings, but we're not going to dive into them tonight. We're going to table that for June 1. Also, as was mentioned, we're still waiting on comments from the building department. Discussions are ongoing with engineering, and so tonight I also will not be diving into the particulars of the civil plans, but Emily is on the line if you have any questions, but that'll likely be handled on June 1st as well. So with that, tonight I expect my presentation to it will go over the applicant, the property, and then an overview of the development. And if you guys have any questions, please jump in at any time. So first, the applicant is, as I said, it's Pioneer Realty LLC. The principal of that LLC is Bernard F. Curry III of Curry Automotive. Curry Automotive, you might have heard of them. They own and operate a number of dealerships in the state and elsewhere. They're a full service auto retailer. And what's nice about Curry is that they also work in commercial real estate and management. So they own the properties that they have their sales and service centers on. So that's nice because you get an operator who's actually invested in maintaining the property as well. They operate about 12 dealerships, I believe. And this one, as I said, will be a Mercedes-Benz. So I have a brief PowerPoint to show the property and the development. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me see here. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so this is an aerial of the property. It is zoned light industrial, IL 40. It's approximately 2.5 acres. It's a tough site to develop. That's because, for one thing, it fronts on 3 streets. It fronts on Sugar Hollow Road, which is a limited access highway. It fronts on Brook Road, and it fronts on Wallingford Road, which is a local road. It's right next to the airport. It's also right next to a water course. Right here, I'm circling, I think it's called Kissen Brook, not Brook. It's called Kissen Brook. So there's a water course right next to the site. Yeah, it's a lengthy permitting process here, which I'll get to, but also just noting that the surrounding area is either dedicated to transportation or other car dealerships. About 600 feet up the road, you have the Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche dealerships, and then I believe a Nissan is coming as well. Other surrounding uses include a park and ride across the street, Patterson Supply, and aviation helicopter uses. And also noting that this is a very highly visible site. I believe it's visible from Route 7. These are active area, commercial area. So it's a visible site. I have to apologize. I think this aerial is a little old. It's the most recent available on Google, but I think it might be from around 2019. Since purchasing the property, the site is now cleaner. I believe the structure here remains, which actually notably crosses the property line. But it's has for a long time been used for various commercial and industrial uses of dubious compliance with zoning, and most recently has been used for the stockpiling of raw materials and the storage of construction equipment. Let me see. I'm just going to flip through the existing conditions. Again, I think this is about a year old, but this is really showing the historic uses of the site. This is going south down on Sugar Hollow Road. This is the corner of Sugar Hollow Road and Brook Road, and this is heading on Brook Road. And this is what is proposed. This is the rendering of the Mercedes-Benz dealership. This is from the corner of Sugar Hollow Road and Brook. I have a couple more angles here. This is from Sugar Hollow Road. You can see the park and ride across the street. So that's the angle of this one. And then this is from Brook Road heading towards Sugar Hollow Road. Yeah, so this is, I think I might, so this is our site plan, but to develop the site, it actually has required a fairly lengthy permitting history. First, the applicant obtained 4 variance approvals from the ZBA in order to develop the site in a feasible manner. The variances were to permit parking spaces within 5 feet of the property line of Brook Road and Sugar Hollow Road, to permit a landscape buffer of 5 feet along the property's frontage on Brook Road and Sugar Hollow Road. Alternative site landscaping in lieu of trees. Trees are frowned upon next to an airport. So we were granted a variance for lower lying plantings, and also to permit vehicular access to Wallingford Road, which is a local street. We also thereafter went to the Environmental Impact Commission and received an EIC permit for this development due to the site's proximity to Kissen Brook. And also we had to get permits from the FAA. And so the FAA issued final determinations. There were 3. One was related to the building itself, another to light poles, and the third to a temporary crane in connection with construction. So that permitting has taken place and those approvals have been received. So now we're here before you tonight for 2 special exceptions. One is for the sale and rental of automobiles and trucks, and in the IL zone, and the other is for a high traffic generator. I believe 500 trips is what triggers it, and we went right over it, I think, for around 525. So we triggered the requirement for that special exception as well. And once, if you approve these applications, then we're actually not done. Then we have to go to the zoning commission for a certificate of location approval, and then finally to the DMV for a K7. So yeah, this site takes some review to get this project permitted. But turning to the site plan here, and I think I'm actually going, it's been tough to show site plans through a PowerPoint, so I'm actually going to stop the share and switch to Adobe. If you give me 1 second here.
Attorney Miles, I just missed one, if you'll forgive me, one quick
Go ahead.
thing. I just missed it. You mentioned that should you be successful with this application, you have to go before two other things, zoning and one other thing. I just missed it.
Oh, yeah, zoning commission, and then get a K7 approval from the DMV.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Okay, now, can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is from the Adobe of our plan set, but it's easier to zoom in on these. So the proposed building, it's approximately 31,000 square feet. It's a 2-floor building. It will have approximately 262 parking spaces. As I'm sure you're familiar with these uses, the majority of those spaces are for storage of vehicles. Let me see here. Site access is proposed from Brook Road and Wallingford Road. No access is permitted from Sugar Hollow Road because that's a limited access highway, and staff strongly encourage us to have access far removed from the intersection. So this was the appropriate point of access off of Brook Road, and this is intended for main site access and for truck vehicle access. Ancillary access point really for employees and occasional customers is provided off of Wallingford Road. Let me see here. Other site improvements to note is that stormwater retention facilities are proposed, robust site landscaping, and this is all improvements from existing conditions. Currently, there's no stormwater, there's no landscaping, so this improves existing conditions significantly. Let me see here. I'm going to switch my screen one more time to show you the floor plans, to show you the breakdown of how it will be used. There we go. There. This is the first floor. It's 2 floors. The first floor is dedicated to retail sales area, which will be roped around the front of the building here, as well as office space and storage areas. And then approximately 13,000 square feet in the back here is dedicated to the service center, and it will have about approximately 22 service bays. Drive through for the service area will come here on the west side of the building. And then the second floor is almost entirely dedicated to rooftop parking for vehicle storage. And it's been designed in such a way that you wouldn't be able to see them from the ground. So it's for rooftop vehicle storage. And then there is a second floor display area where they can park cars to be displayed from the street. This is really the intent. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is really just a general overview of the project. Let me see, I'll close my screen here, but really to conclude for this point, this is a really highly visible site that's been targeted for economic development for some time. And I actually neglected to mention that my understanding is that back in 2020, the zoning commission modified the zoning regulations to add this use as a permitted use in the IL40 zone with special exception approval. And during that review for the text amendment, this site was actually considered a subject site or like a concept site for development. And it was clear that the city really wanted to encourage development of this site. And it contemplated a dealership, and it's some really nice economic use for this area. And fortunately, that text amendment has panned out, and Pioneer Realty has purchased the property, and they've put together a really nice plan for a Mercedes-Benz dealership. It's really a dramatic improvement from existing long-standing conditions, and it puts the site to some really nice economic use. It's a very appropriate use for the area. This area is very transportation-centered, commercial, particularly when it comes to auto sales and service, particularly German cars, apparently. So this fits right in with the area. And the design and the scale of it really complements the area as well, particularly being next to an airport, which is important. So it's been designed to complement that as well. And it's really not a nuisance use, particularly with other uses that could be permitted, that are permitted, or have to undergo review for the IL40. This is a really nice low intensity use that occurs primarily indoors. We've listed in our application materials how this application satisfies the provisions of section 6.8.5.g, which which is the one governing special exceptions for sales and service, those sales of automobiles and trucks. And also, as I said, we will follow up on the 1st to provide a presentation on the high traffic generator special exception and compliance with that, and no impact on adjacent roadways and no need for improvements. And to conclude, all staff review comments have been received. We're undergoing review, and revisions will be provided in response to those comments.
Thank you, Attorney
Yeah.
Miles. Commission members, before I call anyone else, do we have any questions for Attorney Miles at this point? Mr. Chiocchio.
Yeah, so just, I know there were some outstanding items for kind of the lighting plan, the traffic movement within the property, some loading areas, sidewalks. So all those will be addressed on the June 1st meeting?
Yes, that's our goal. Yes, so it's a goal of ours to have everything addressed and teed up for review on June 1st.
Okay, and then just a general question, more curiosity. Traffic generator, is it because of the use, or is it because size of the building, or what was the determination that it brought it over 500 cars?
I believe, and Emily might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the breakdown of the specific uses in the building. So how much is dedicated to retail, how much is dedicated to office, how much is dedicated to storage. Yeah, and I will say that we probably overestimated the square footage, and that was really, when we ran the numbers conservatively, we were just under 500, and it felt like, you know what, a little more flexibility is helpful. And if there was any modifications to the site plan in the future, and that would trigger special exception review. Let's do it now, particularly since we are pretty comfortable that this has no adverse traffic impacts.
Yes, Megan, that's correct. For the record, Emily Jones, Civil One Engineering. The vehicle trip estimates are broken down by retail use, which has the most vehicle trips per 1,000 square feet, office use, and then storage area and service area. So totaling those up for the breakdown, we were at 523 trips.
Great, thank you.
Commission members, any other questions for Attorney Miles at this point?
Kind of a minor question, but I guess I'll ask it. To access the second floor showroom area, is there going to be any kind of safety signage or rope to keep patrons from going up there? I noted that they're not going to be allowed on that second floor.
Yes, either Bob or Emily, if you want to provide some details on that.
You want to take that, Bob?
Yes, looking for the mute
Please,
sign, sorry.
You would just please
So,
state
yes.
your affiliation for the.
Sure, it's Bob Carinci, COO of Curry Automotive. Was that all you asked? I'm sorry, you broke up a bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Oh, or you were talking to
Oh,
the chairman.
no, yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So yes, so upstairs will be internal use only. So there'll be 2 sets of stairs. There'll also be an elevator. So there'll be plenty of signage through in those areas that states it's for, for employee use only, no entry. We don't plan on really bringing up customers up there as a normal practice. There's a possibility every now and then one would be brought up to maybe look at one vehicle or 2, but it's not really designed for customers. So there'll be plenty of signage and signs around.
And then also on the
Understood,
site
thank you.
plan, I note that there's a do not enter sign at the bottom of the ramp as well.
Okay, yes, it was the ramp I was more concerned
Okay.
about. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, there'll be plenty of do not enters going up there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Attorney Miles at this point before we move on right now? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else? Mr. Visconti, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My reason for being here tonight was actually for the traffic situation, but I'll hold off on that. I have had quite a few constituents calling me and wanting to know this or that, the usual thing. So I will hold off on that until next month. And I have a problem doing that. And I am glad to see something get there finally and get that mess that was there for many, many years taken care of. So I do look forward to seeing them come into Danbury. We just keep moving along in that West Side area, and I'm glad about that. We're doing a good job, and we look forward to seeing the Mercedes-Benz there. But I do have some questions on the traffic, and I can wait till next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Visconti. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Mr. Chairman?
Anyone? Mr. Rotello, how are you this evening?
I am well, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Like my colleague in the Fifth Ward, Councilman Visconti, I am looking forward and have been looking forward for, I don't know, maybe since the Eisenhower era, of a resolution of this site. And I'm glad to see it's moving along apace. I do like Mr. Visconti in the Fifth Ward that this site is adjacent to. Us in the Sixth Ward that this site is actually in have some questions about traffic, which we will wait until the June meeting or the mid-May meeting to address. But Attorney Miles did mention a couple of things. She mentioned the second floor roof, which is a second floor and a roof. That's a little unusual, but okay, there's going to be a second floor and a roof, I guess, with cars on that, mostly, I'm assuming, because of the permeable or impermeable surface footprint. She mentioned, I believe she mentioned they would not be viewable from the street, but we have constituents on top of Worcester Heights who live, several hundred feet above this. I'm assuming that they will be visible from that vantage point. We've got the Army up there. We've got a proposed health center. We have an office building. We have a lot of residences up there that travel on that road back and forth. So while not discussing traffic per se, I would like a take on what would be viewable from a height of several hundred feet. I don't need to get into airplanes flying over the building. This is just people who happen to live there who will be looking down the hill and seeing this building from a vantage point that's clearly not from the street. If she could address that, I'd appreciate that. And then explain to me, because I'm a little bit confused about how there will be, I guess, an uncovered roof with cars on it, and then maybe a covered section for people to stand in to look at the cars that will have another roof on top of that, or if they could just walk me through that, through the chair, of course. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rotello. I'll, after I call whoever else wants to speak in favor, I'll allow the applicant the opportunity to respond to those questions. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, hearing none, I'll turn it over to Attorney Miles. Mr. Rotello asked a couple of questions. Give the applicant an opportunity to respond.
Of course. So I am going to share my screen again back to the renderings that I had shared earlier. Can you guys see the renderings of the building?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so this is probably this is street view. So this is not from 100 feet up, but this is street view from Myra Brook, and you can see the second floor of the building here. It's open, but the screening is really like a European style dark screen. Really, is how it's designed, and then you can see this is probably the best angle, but the second floor area here is glass, and that is where cars will be parked for display to the ground. So customers are not allowed up to that area. It's solely for vehicle display. So employees can access it to park a car in there, but it is not not intended to be open to the public or to customers. And then this angle shows that as well, and it also shows the ramp area up to the second floor for storage of vehicles.
So there's a roof above those cars, or there isn't? It looks like there's a roof, the white.
Yeah, the white is the roof above the display area, and then the cars parked have screening. See if I can.
Megan, this is Mike Kozlowski with Claris
Yeah.
Construction here, part of the architecture team. If you leave it right here on this rendering, I can explain a little further. So the front part where you see the Mercedes, between the two Rondell logos of Mercedes and then the verbiage Mercedes-Benz at Danbury, enclosed with a roof, it is climate controlled space. It could be used for an office if it needed to be, but it is just from the rooftop parking. We'll have access doors into that space that will have lights on it in there. It'll be just as climate controlled as the lower level. Behind that, so we have about 14 feet there from roof deck, from parking deck up. So that vantage point from the corner of Myra, Brook and Sugar Hollow, you really won't see any cars. You really won't even see any screening. To the left, going down Myra Brook Road, that screening actually sits up about 3 feet from the roof deck. So there's actually a solid 3 feet of metal panel and then screening above that. And what we really wanted to do is to make it look like finished building there, not just a parking deck with like a guardrail. And that carries around down the backside next to the service drop off. That screening also carries down as you're pulling up the ramp along the right side by the airport on the left side. So it really is hard to see any cars specifically from this view. Now, talking about the question from way up on the hill by the Army and some of the houses, I'd argue that it will actually, just because the distance away, the front part of this building will screen most of those cars on the roof. If you're high enough, of course, you're going to see something on the roof. But at that vantage point, it's no different than looking at cars on roof than I think looking at cars on a parking surface, in my opinion.
Also, Representative Curry did meet with the neighborhood association. I believe it was Worcester Heights. That's what sounds familiar to me. And they met with them, and they were very supportive. They were glad to be shared the development, and they were excited for something to come to this site. So they also wanted this corner to be developed.
Thank you for that clarification, Attorney Miles. Thank you. All right, I called the opposition, didn't I, Jennifer? Didn't I call? Okay. Unless there's anything else the applicant plans to present this evening, I guess it would be appropriate to ask for a motion to continue. But before I do that, anything else from the applicant at this time?
No, not at this time. I guess we'll see you guys on June 1st.
Okay, great, guys. Again, we're going to continue this till June 1st. Commission members, unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to continue.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you. A motion made and seconded to continue the public hearing to our first meeting in June. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter will be continued until our meeting in June. Thank you very June 1st meeting. Thank you, applicant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to keep moving. Where are we on our agenda? That's it for new public hearings. We're going to go right to the continuation of public hearings portion of our agenda. Item 1, Laurel Draper, application for special exception site plan approval for self-storage, modern self-storage in the IL40 zone. 12 Great Pasture Road, L16010, special exception number 782. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Attorney Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. By the way, before I do that, I just have to comment on the last application. It's going to be, for those of you who care about the history of Danbury, they're going to restore that corner to its historic automotive use, because that used to be Ed Henry's garage. But that was a long time ago, and there are very few people that I can recognize on the screen that might remember that. But back to, they talked about the Sayers, but I remember it as Ed Henry's garage. Anyway, I'm here on behalf of Laurel Draper, and this is a continuation of the hearing. Last session was on April 20th. At that point, there were two things. The commission was waiting for us to complete the EIC permit. I'll let Mike Mizuko speak to that because that occurred, that took place last week. And I will tell you that I thought that most of the questions were actually answered. So at this point, Mike may have a few additional comments. I'll turn it over to him.
Good evening. Thanks, Neil. For the record, Mike Mizuko, professional engineer representing the applicant. As Neil stated, we did receive the EIC approval last week, and they had a couple of conditions. We incorporated those conditions into the revised set of plans, in addition to responding to some minor comments by the engineering department and staff. And so we got those in, I think, on Monday. And as I said, it was more of just some clarification comments. There was one concern about dumping snow in the detention basin, and that was one thing that the EIC precluded in their approval as a condition. And so we just put a note on the revised plan stating such. And we just clarified some lines on the profile for engineering, as well as just confirming that we will be filing, or Neil will be filing, the appropriate rights to, or from the adjoining property owner to Laurel Draper for access for maintenance on the detention basin, as well as snow storage. So I think that was really the gist of the comments. Yeah, I think that was it. We went over pretty much the other changes which we had addressed on the initial reapplication filing.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Jen, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's it. I think we've got everything we need to close. Can you verify that?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. We've received preliminary comments from all the departments from the last go around, and those comments have been brought into this application. And staff has reviewed the revisions. All of our comments have been satisfied. I know that I spoke to Kelly Green late in the day from the engineering department. She took a quick look at the revisions that came in. I believe Monday afternoon they came in. She said it wouldn't be what she would call a clean letter. There were a couple of small issues, but it's certainly, nothing that would prevent us from closing the hearing if the commission chose to. So from our, and there's still the issue of the floodplain permit, that will be handled through my review separately. When that's ready to come before the commission, I'll certainly submit that report. But from the staff's position, all comments have been addressed.
Great, thank you. Just want to throw out a general question to either Mike or Neil. I just want to confirm, I'd like to get it on the record, that any work done at the site, excavation, site work, dumping, that will all, the proper permits will be pulled for that type of work. Do we have the applicant's assurance on that?
Yes, all proper permits will be procured. I think one of the things is that there was work being done to clean up the site and removal of the operations that were illegal. So some of that is sort of inclusive of the work that you see today, but a lot of that was just part of the cleanup.
Okay. Commission members, any further questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Oh, I didn't call the opposition. Did I call the opposition? I can't remember if I did that or not. I did not call the opposition.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You
Oh, I
did.
did. Okay, I
You
don't know
did.
why.
I wrote it down. You did.
In opposition.
I have a mental block about the opposition. I don't know why I keep asking that. I apologize. Okay, so I've called in favor. I've called opposed. Helen, please. Do you have a question?
You're muted. You're muted, Helen.
Okay, sorry. About the fencing in the back there was, I guess, Mr. Mancuso's letter response stated that, in the future, if it's warranted to put better fencing around, because I guess it's incomplete, there's fencing on the north side. Anyway, the response seemed to indicate that, there'll be consideration made for future adding of fencing, but that's outside of our planning commission decision right here. So the question I guess I have is, what, that sounds wishy-washy to me, and I don't know if it should be maybe better structured in terms of when that should take place. And maybe staff could answer that for me in terms of what's the boundary there, maybe.
Do you want a comment from staff or from the applicant?
Well, let me just, Mike, Helen, which fencing, I guess my question is, which fencing are you talking about?
Well, can I clarify that? Because
Please.
well, there's going to be fencing on top of the retaining wall separating the detention basin from the site itself. Now, there's also fencing that contains everything on the north for prime storage. So they have a fence around their whole operation. The only thing that's open is to the south. Now, we look at it as we don't see, because it's so far in the back and it's sort of shielded from already two sides and three really from the back, because that's all wooded and swamp. So we feel like that there's very minimal risk that warrants a fence. But if for some reason we feel that there is a need, we would put a fence in along the southern side. But, again, the applicant's looking to, as we stated, I think under the first application that was withdrawn, that they're looking to expand this facility and eliminate the non-conforming uses to the south, which they own those properties, and come back in with another application for an expanded self-storage facility and combine all those properties into one. And then really at that point, we would take a look at the need for a fence for the detention basin.
Okay, I guess I missed the part about it being owned by the adjacent property being owned by the applicant as well. So thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
Commission members, any further questions for the applicant at this time? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Do I hear motion made and seconded to close the public hearing? Any comments?
Who
or
seconded?
discussion?
Barry did.
Okay, no other comments or discussion. I will try your minds. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This public hearing is closed. Thank you to the applicant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. Looking at our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, can you
yes.
move that for discussion?
I'll entertain a motion to move this matter to item 1 on item 2 under old business for discussion and possible action.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The matter of Laurel Draper will be item 2 under old business for discussion and possible action. Moving ahead in our agenda to old business for discussion and possible action, commission members, 100 Mill Plain Investors LLC, application for revised special exception, revised site plan approval for conversion of professional office space to medical office space. Dr. Schweka, DBS, in the CA 80 zone, 100 Mill Plain Road, C14058, special exception 728. A draft resolution of approval with conditions dated April 28th, 2022 was previously distributed to the commission, and I will turn that over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you have a resolution before you for 1 Plaza West, 100 Mill Plain, to occupy one of the tenant spaces that was previously office for a medical tenant. As I'd indicated previously, this was not a trip generator. I believe, any further changes in use would result in a trip generator under the medical use. And that's just the background. There were really no additional requirements other than filing the grant on the land records and providing evidence to the ZEO. Any
Thanks,
questions?
Jen. We always
Short
like
and
those.
sweet.
We like those nice short resolutions. Those are always good.
The 3 pagers are better than the 10 pagers.
True. Commission members, any questions for Jen on the resolution of approval with conditions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with conditions, please, the resolution as drafted by the department.
Motion made and seconded by Ms. Hofstadter. Any further discussion? So again, the motion is to approve the resolution of approval with conditions. A yes vote is yes, and a no vote is to not approve. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution of approval with conditions is approved. Thank you. Taking a look at, oh no, we have item 2, I'm sorry. Item 2 under old business for discussion and possible action, Laurel Draper. Application for special exception site plan approval for self-storage, modern self-storage in the IL40 zone, 12 Great Crestwood Road, L16010, special exception number 782. Discussion. Anyone want to make a comment as to their feelings on this application?
Mr.
Quiet.
Chairman. Yeah.
Please, Helen.
As long as the whole issue of the, illegal dumping or whatever is resolved to the satisfaction of staff. And I don't see any other reason to have any issue with it. So I would approve.
Thank you, Helen. Anyone else care to comment?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Helen. I think, completing this project will take care of that issue in itself. And seems as though this would be an improvement to the site. I don't think there's going to be much traffic there. And so I don't really have any issues with this.
Thank you. Mr. Sylvain?
Largest question I had remaining was really whether the snow removal, their techniques for snow removal are satisfactory to the department and whether that really meets what they were looking for.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll answer real quick. So, and I've seen the EIC approval. Typically, EIC doesn't allow the dumping of snow in the wetlands. It's restricted. In this case, it was a specific condition in the EIC approval, and Mike revised the plans to include a note further restricting that dumping. And that meets the intent. We just hope that that's what occurs on site. That's a site operations issue.
And you're okay with the idea that if there's too much snow, it can be carted off site? Okay.
Yeah, and that's, it's a function of, a lot of the businesses, there's a point, there's no place to put it and they cart it off. It would not be unique, especially when we get those big storms.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, and I concur with the other commission members also. Should recognize that the applicant did address the parking issues that arose from the original submission of the application. So I think, Jen, you have your guidance there from the commission.
Yep, there's just just to let the commission know, there'll be the standard conditions, administrative requirements. But what will also need to be in there is the language for the easement to put the work that's happening on the adjacent property. I think there's some site grading, there's an access to the detention basin, those rights to pass and repass will need to be established. So that'll be a condition of the approval.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, good.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I have a question for Jen. Given that, I know they want to develop the property next door to kind of do the same thing. So I guess as we look at that property, and I'm kind of moving into the future here, if we're not happy of how they can access this site from that property and snow removal, I guess we can handle that at that point, I suppose, right?
That's correct. That would be, again, this is a special exception use in the zone. So any, whether it's a standalone or whether it's part of 12 Great Pasture, it would go back to the Planning Commission. So, if we've seen issues out there with access and failure to maintain, that would certainly be brought up under, whatever application would come before the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Any other questions? Excuse me, any other questions for Jen? Okay, good. Looking at the one referral we have, I probably should have announced this at the beginning of the meeting, but anyway, I'll just read it. 824 referral, April 2022 City Council Agenda Item Number 13, request for sewer extension for 4345A, 45B, 4749 Myra Brook Road. I'll skip the reading of the map numbers. And again, it is on the agenda. I'm sorry. This will be, we'll hear this referral at our May 18th meeting. We'll discuss it at our May 18th meeting. Commission members, you'll see a couple of new business items coming down the road. The first one, 190 White Street LLC, that's scheduled for June 15th. And BRT Brookview Commons is scheduled for June 1st. Jen, I get this feeling I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
All right.
I mean, if you want to, I can announce quickly.
Zoom
So the
meetings.
What?
Yes.
Well, no. The next meeting will be, and you've received the emails from Sharon, will be for the affordable housing plan, that public hearing. Our consultants, Francisco from FHI Studio and Sharon will do that presentation to the commission. My intent was to have no business. All you're doing is the affordable housing plan, except I had to piggyback that one referral on there. So it gets to the June council meeting. But other than that, all applications, that's why you don't see anything happening on May 18th. We'll handle everything in the coming months.
Yeah, good. So again, everybody, we're really going to focus on that affordable housing plan on May 18th. That's a big presentation. And thank you, Jen, for clearing the way to give us some time on that one with nothing else on the agenda.
Yep.
Thank you.
And if you want to talk about the Zoom, or I can let the commission know, the governor signed the bill that allows commissions to go to either function to hold your meetings in person. And we've had that ability, but the commission's chosen to handle it via Zoom. But the order allows the commission to decide whether you want to go in person or Zoom. So, you can decide, certainly through the month of May, we're going to do the affordable housing plan via Zoom, but the commission can discuss if, what scope you want to decide to have to go back in person or to have Zoom meetings. You do not have to do that tonight, but, at some point, guidance will have to be given to staff as to how you want to handle in person versus via Zoom.
Yes, so I would ask the commission members to just sort of start thinking about that. Again, the whole concept of a Zoom meeting arose because of the pandemic. However, when the pandemic subsides, we still have the option of doing Zoom meetings. And so, I mean, I'll throw it out. My inclination is to, on larger public hearings, it's probably best to show up in person. However, we do occasionally have meetings with a very light agenda. And in the future, we could do those via Zoom without too much fanfare. So again, just give it some thought. We don't have to resolve it tonight, as Jennifer said. For May, we're going to be doing Zoom. But at some point, we have to decide how we're going to proceed. So just start thinking about it, and we can discuss it next time. And that's the show. Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed. This meeting is adjourned. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good.
Thank
good-
you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good night.